Do you know someone who is widowed and you just don't know the right words to say to them? Then this is going to be a great video for you. I'm actually going to focus on the things, what not to say. And the reason I'm doing this video, I am widowed, and I remember some of the things that people put on the Facebook posts. I'm like, really? Did you just say that? And I know of several people who have since lost their spouses since I lost mine, and just out of curiosity, I'll look at the comments and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was the wrong thing to say. My name is Debbie Morton, and my husband passed away in June of 2022 suddenly. There's another video on this channel, one of the first videos, where I share, my journey right after he passed. But I made a decision to sell everything and become a nomad and travel around the world. So right now on this channel, I do talk about my journey through being a widow. I also talk about some of the different travels, some of the different places that I go to, and I'm able to live this lifestyle not only because we had a lot of timeshare points, I mainly live in timeshares, but also because I have a home-based business that I can work from anywhere. So on this channel, I kind of talk about a little bit of everything. If you'd like to follow my journeys, be part of my community so that the videos that resonate with you, you'll be alerted whenever I post them. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like, and please, if you have any comments or you want to share anything in addition to what I'm sharing in this video that can also help other people as well, feel free to put them in the comments. Or if you have any questions, I'll respond to any questions that you have. Really quickly right now, I will share where I am and why there is such an echo in this room. I am in San Jose del Cabo, Mexico, and I was at a retreat, and then I found out when I was at that retreat there was going to be another retreat of a totally different organizer, different topic, and I wanted to do that retreat too, and I was already here for a month. And so the owner of the retreat location, it's Upaya Retreat Center, I'm friends with the owner, and so she said, you can just go ahead and stay here. And I am glamping. I'll put a picture of where I'm staying. It's absolutely beautiful, but there's construction that is going on and it's pretty loud outside. And so the neighbor right across the street has a home for sale. Actually, it's 2 levels. It's a penthouse. I'm inside the penthouse, and then upstairs from here is the penthouse, their own private pool. It's like unbelievable, but there's not carpet in this room, so it's pretty echoey, and I can't open the doors because they're building I don't know what they're building, a house or an apartment, not too far away, and you can hear the cement trucks and the construction going on. So I have everything closed up, and that's why it's a little bit echoey. So the first thing I want to talk about is, and I got this a lot on my Facebook page, I'm like, really? Never say to someone who is widowed, I know how you feel, because you don't know how they feel. As a widow, when I see someone else who is widowed, I don't know how they feel. I don't know how long they've been married. I don't know what their relationship was like. I don't know if, they have been in the process of grieving for a long time because their loved one was going through a long-term illness. I don't know how they feel. And here's what people they've posted on some of my posts, and I see it frequently on other people's posts when someone announces that their husband has passed or their wife has passed. I know how you feel because, and I had someone say, I know how you feel. I got divorced and I remember how lonely it was in the house without my husband being there. I have been divorced and I have been widowed, and they are 2 completely separate things. So please do not ever say to a widow, I know how you feel, because I lost my husband to divorce. They're 2 completely different losses. And I also had people say, I know how you feel, my mother passed away last year, or I know how you feel, my father recently passed, or I know how you feel, and they will share some grief that they're going through. And I get why we do this. It is because we want to align, normally in human nature and in normal everyday life, we want to connect with someone to say, I know how you feel, I felt the same way too, and here's how I got through it. In the situation with grief, that formula doesn't work. You don't know how they feel, and for a widow, when you say that to them, all they can think about is the pain and the grief they are in at that moment, and they don't care how you feel or how you felt. They're just doing everything they can to get through their own grief and situation. So please don't minimize how they might be feeling by saying, I know how you feel because this happened to me. And I want to share that just so that you know how it occurs for us as a widow for somebody to say that. The next thing I'm going to share, people did not really say this to me. My husband passed away unexpectedly. It wasn't a long-term illness, but when you know someone whose spouse suffered prior to passing, they were in a lot of pain, they were, just, it was a process or an illness that they endured before passing to the other side. Don't say to the surviving spouse, they're in a better place. At least they're with God, they're pain-free. Never say that someone's in a better place, because from the widow's perspective, the best place for our spouse is by our side here on earth, enjoying the life that we once had. And yes, they may have been in a very difficult, painful state prior to passing on, and the widow might be relieved knowing that they're now with God, not in pain anymore. Let the widow be the one to vocalize that. You don't want to say they're in a better place, because from the widow's perspective, there is no better place than with us prior to that illness even happening. They want to go back to life the way it was when things were happy and they were traveling and they were enjoying life and raising kids and doing whatever it was that they did together with their spouse. So when you say they're in a better place, that doesn't land well in the ears of a widow. Even if the widow knows that's the truth, the widow still wants to go back to the place where things were happy. And so I want to share that. People didn't say that to me so much because my husband's passing was so sudden, but I see it a lot in comments on Facebook of other people. And I've heard that, and sadly, I think I may have said that to various individuals in my life, like at least they're out of pain and they're no longer suffering and they're in a better place. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I even said that. I would never ever say that to someone again, now having walked in the shoes of being a widow. The last thing I want to share is, quite often I hear or will see the comment that you're so brave. Now, I understand in my situation, because I made a decision to sell everything and travel the world as a nomad, and people who would not be comfortable traveling solo, they look at me and they think you're so brave and you're so strong. Here's what I will say. It was more difficult for me to live in the same house that me and my husband had so many memories and so many routines, to live in that big empty house without him. This lifestyle for me is much simpler than it was to remain in the house with all of those memories. And so my selling everything and traveling was my journey through grief. That being said, so often we look at a widow, and because they're laughing or they're having fun on a particular day, we're like, oh my gosh, you're so strong, you're getting out there, you're so brave. A widow doesn't have a choice. It is not our choice to be strong or to be brave. We have to get through every day, no matter how painful it is, no matter how difficult it is. And we do our best to find ways to laugh again, to go out and enjoy life again. For some widows, that process can move rather quickly. In some cases, that process can take years and years, and they may never come through the end of it. Being a journey going through grief is a process, and it is something that we move through. So to say to someone, you're so strong and you're so brave, in the minds of a widow, it's like we don't have a choice. I remember when I was in Malta, I went with a friend to Malta. It was probably about 4 months after John passed away, and I was going through, it was a museum, and they were selling these different art pieces. And one of the pieces of art said, "You never know how strong you are until strong is your only option." And that is so true. When we go through the most difficult times in life, and trust me, having a spouse pass away is one of the most difficult things someone is ever going to go through in life. And to know that you never know how strong you are until strong is your only option. Well, it definitely tests our strength. And so by saying to someone, "You're so strong and so brave," you feel like you're empowering them, like, "Oh my gosh, you're doing great." But the reality is we're trying to survive and get through every single day. For some of us, that process may be a little quicker. Personal development work that I had gone through prior to John's passing helped me to know that I can't control that John is no longer here, but that event isn't changing. He is not coming back physically on this earth, and it's now my choice. I can feel the pain, and I choose not to suffer because of it. I want to move into my next chapter, and I want to move into, I have to anyways, I may as well do it sooner rather than later. And so I just want to share my own personal journey through being strong or being brave. It doesn't bother me when somebody says that. I just don't feel it, because I'm actually living a pretty cool life right now, traveling around to different countries. But for someone who is widowed and still in their house, they're doing the best they can with what they have, and they may not feel like they're strong and they're brave, and just saying that to them reminds them of where they are in this journey through grief. So what do you say to someone who is widowed? Here's my recommendation, and what I now know, having been down this journey myself, this is what I do for other widows. My condolences. I am so sorry you are going through this. I want to offer my condolences. Let them know that you're praying for them. Let them know that you're here for them. Refrain from asking any questions. Don't ask them, "Do you have life insurance? How did they die?" Don't ask them any questions that put them or trigger them to relive something that's very painful. They will share that with you when they are comfortable sharing that in general and specifically with you. So just give them love, give them grace, give them space to vocalize whatever they want to vocalize. Give them the opportunity to have a good cry and just be a shoulder for them to cry on. But just let them know that you love them, that you are so sorry for what they're going through, and let them know that you're continuing to pray for them as they move through this journey. And the one final thing that I am going to share, do not judge. Do not think of this is how long the journey of grief should be, or this is what somebody should look like when they're going through grief, or this is what I would look like if I were grieving. So many times people impose what they think they may do in that same situation. Do not judge another widow for if they're staying isolated and going through that process of pain. You can encourage them to get out of the house and see, what their next chapter might look like, but don't judge them for the pain that they're going through. Don't judge them that they're coming out of it too fast, too slow. They're not crying enough. Do not put your judgments onto someone else. Allow your loved one or your friend or your family member to go through this journey, supporting them, encouraging them in things they might do to move through it faster. If there's a bereavement group and your loved one seems to be suffering, you might say, "I don't know if this is something for you, but I heard that my church has a bereavement class going on. If it's something you'd be interested in, I'll give you the details." Have conversations like that. With that, I am going to wrap this up. I think I'm rambling on way too long. I'm going to wrap this up. Have an absolutely amazing day, and I will see you on the next video. If you did get value from this, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave any comments below.